Tonight, we're jumping back into the dark side of TikTok, and what I found will make you question everything. Welcome back, family. Before the video starts, I just want to thank all my channel members for support. We're around 2.5 thousand off of 100K. Hopefully by the end of this video, I earn y'all subscriptions so we can hit 100K before the end of the year. Let's go.
Walking out there would actually kill you.
Ho, ho, ho.
I don't know about you guys, but to me, this literally looks like an active war zone with mortars and mines going off, but this is actually just weather. This is a viral no context video that I got tagged in. This person's recording a field. We can see splashes of water that look similar to explosions, and we hear some loud impact sounds that you could mistake for gunfire. In reality though, this whole entire video, this whole ordeal was caused by ice, hail to be specific. When you think about dangerous weather, you're going to think about tornadoes or hurricanes, but hailstorms can and have been just as deadly. For example, one of the deadliest hailstorms on record occurred back in India in 1888, resulting in the deaths of 250 people. Small hail, no problem, but larger pieces can reach speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour, meaning they can break windows, go through windshields, and if they fall on your head, cause skull fractures and death. So really, don't underestimate the power of a golf ball-sized piece of ice falling thousands of feet.
Amazing role models like the assassin J.D. Vance, our vice president. And when I say that,
trust me, there's nothing new under the sun that I have not heard, so you're fine. Yes, we did. I love you. I love you. You have to laugh about it, truly, because if the internet wants to clip it, who cares? I love this woman. She's an amazing woman. She has a soul and a heart for the Lord.
Yo, when I saw this clip, this was one of the most ironic clips I've seen in my existence. Because I remember literally Charlie Kirk complaining about how Nicki Minaj is not good for society and how he doesn't like what she promotes. But then yet his wife, Erica Kirk, goes on to do an interview with Nicki Minaj talking about how she's an amazing person. She loves her. She loves everything she does. So it's this really weird irony. And I'm going to see if I can throw in a clip that literally exposes this moment.
Right now, black culture is being held captive by influences, songs,
Which
and role models.
influences?
I mean, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on a second. I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old black girls. I don't think that songs that are talking about like glorifying wet female genitalia is exactly, I don't know which one wrote that song. Which one was it?
I think it was Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but by the way, the role models of the 1940s and 50s for Black America were completely different.
So it is a representation issue.
Hold on a second. No, not representation. It's who do you get your art from? It's what values are they putting forward? It's the question of every day, for example, more times than not, black politicians will lament the condition of America. It's systemically racist. It's terrible. What does that do to a 14-year-old black kid if you just find that you hear that everything is rigged against you? Instead, they should be saying, hey, there might be some barriers, but if you believe in yourself enough, you can achieve.
Ever wonder what hot dogs really are? This is where everything that couldn't be sold as meat ends up. This isn't beef. This isn't chicken. This is mechanically separated meat parts. Pretty gross, right? These nasty machines grind animal remnants until there's no structure left, making a slimy paste of thousands of different animals' DNA. Once the meat loses its identity, chemistry takes over. We add chemicals to make these things last forever. At this point, it's no longer food, just a disgusting, toxic protein paste. But as long as it tastes good, you don't care, right? Shape is added last. We make it look appetizing to trick you all into thinking it's something good. The joke's on you. That's not what meat looks like. That's what deception looks like. Still want some?
There's a saying I live by that says ignorance is bliss. And what's funny to me is that like I loved hot dogs until I really knew how they were made. There's a lot of things that I've eaten, and once I knew how they were made, I just never ate them again.
Jake Paul got knocked out by Anthony Joshua this past Friday night. And so I want to break this down from a medical perspective. I'm a neurosurgeon with over 25 years of experience. And so, you know, what happens is when you get hit in the head with that kind of force, like in boxing, our brain actually moves inside our skull and it can bump into the skull. which is a firm structure and cause bruising of the brain, even bleeding, but it causes repeated trauma to the brain. And over years and years of this happening, people can get what's called chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE syndrome. And it's almost like a disease, because with repeated trauma to the brain, and that can lead to memory problems, mood swings, even trouble with movements, and eventually people can develop dementia, like Alzheimer's disease and even Parkinson's disease.
Dude, I'm pretty sure Jake Paul ran up $500 million already from boxing. So in my opinion, he should just take the L that he got from Anthony Joshua and just quit and just, you know what I'm saying, spend his money in Dubai or something.
You think about, and I'm sure you get asked about, why didn't the Biden administration release those files? Was that something that they felt would look bad while they're running against this guy, or why didn't they come out during your administration?
To give you an answer that will not satisfy your curiosity, I will tell you, we, perhaps to our damage, but we strongly and rightly believed that there should be an absolute separation between what we wanted as an administration and what the Department of Justice did. We absolutely adhered to that, and it was right to do that. The Justice Department would make its decisions independent of any political or personal vendetta or concern that we may have. And that's the way it worked.
All right, we're gonna.
Yeah, new things came out about the Epstein files. This weekend, if I do have the time for it, I'm going to try to do another Epstein files deep dive.
This one's in Thailand.
I've been to Thailand before.
Have you?
Beautiful over there.
Beautiful, beautiful. What comes with the island? There's a small villa there. You could practically build with the island.
There's building space.
Yeah, there's.
Did the island come with the children, or the children imported after?
This island does have a small school. There are children.
Okay, so I don't know if that was a
what
countries are near to a from?
Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Vietnam,
Philippines.
The Philippines.
Of course.
The Filipinos, you know, if they're not being a nurse, they're being your crew. Okay, so.
So true.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
What age ranges?
Below 10, I don't really.
That is wild. I'm actually kind of hoping that's AI, but I don't think it is.
How well do you remember the year 2020? Because a lot of people don't remember a bunch of major events that happened that year. A lot of people mention that 2020 feels like a big dream. There's a theory called the 2020 effect, and the isolation due to the pandemic has caused a lot of people to just forget about 2020 entirely. A lot of people hardly remember having to wear face masks everywhere we went. The toilet paper hoarding, and the extreme price gouging on hand sanitizer. A lot of people don't remember the monoliths, George Floyd, and the BLM protests, the mystery seeds that were received in Texas, or the Subway yoga mat sandwiches. A lot of people don't remember ever being on edge as we waited for that asteroid to possibly hit Earth, Mike Lindell's meltdown over the 2020 election, the invasion of the murder hornets, or the Fire-NATO. Many of these events have people scratching their heads, or they kind of remember these things happening, but it didn't feel like it was 4 years ago. 2020 was a year to remember, but a lot of people can't even do that.
They watched as the plane's engines cut out one by one until all four were dead, leaving it gliding silently at 37,000 feet. You see, a cloud of volcanic ash had been blown high into the sky from an eruption, and since it wasn't a normal cloud, it didn't show up on the plane's radar. When it entered the engines, the heat melted it into glass. That glass clogged the turbines and shut down all four engines, meaning for 15 minutes, the pilot could only glide as the plane dropped thousands of feet, with everyone on board believing they were going to die. But as the plane dropped lower, it finally left the cloud, and the glass began to break off the engines, allowing the pilots to restart all four. The plane landed safely, saving every life on board.
Dude, that's a good story. I thought they were clipped too. I thought they were dunzos. My thing is, bro, we need to find a way to put the plane engine inside the plane or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to stop these birds and all these like little things getting in the engine and messing it up. Like, a car engine is in the hood, you know what I'm saying? So like, we should find a way to put a plane engine somewhere where it can't really be affected by stuff like that.
The man you see in this video is not a real UPS driver. He's wearing a UPS uniform to make the family believe he is delivering a package so that he can force his way into the home. In this case, two men came to the house pretending to make a delivery. The oldest son, who was 20 years old, came outside. That is when two men forced their way into the home. In this clip, you can actually see one of the suspects wave a third suspect inside. Inside the home were the mother, the father, and two toddlers. The mother, the father, and the 20-year-old son. The two toddlers were left alive. There are many devastating moments in this case. One that hasn't left my mind is the portion of the video where the younger toddler walks up and sees the mother deceased on the ground and starts screaming. The older toddler runs in and pulls the younger toddler away. And at that age, they obviously don't understand fully everything that's happening, but they know enough to understand something is seriously wrong. And that older toddler knew enough that they needed to get their sibling out of the situation. Court filings showed that allegedly one of the victims was involved in drug trafficking, and the suspects may have believed that there would be drugs or money inside. One individual identified in court records as Mingo was located about an hour later after being pulled over by the police. Reports say that Mingo initially arrived in a blue Altima and that car was registered to him. Court filings also show that Mingo was a former UPS employee, which is how he had access to the uniform. When he was stopped, officers found the UPS uniform in a backpack. His fingerprints were also found on a box inside of the home. He has been convicted and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The two other individuals you see in the video were also convicted and are expected to be sentenced in January of 2026.
I've heard about that UPS thing yesterday, and I didn't watch the video, but I know that there's a video out about it, and I've heard it was one of the most disturbing and messed up videos. So I don't recommend you guys seeking it out, but if you have already seen it, you know what I'm saying, let me know your thoughts about that.
In the event of a nuclear attack, these would be the most irradiated parts of the United States. In this scenario, a certain part of the country is dedicated to be a sacrifice. These are the American sponge states. Located in the Great Plains and running right up against the Rocky Mountains, states from Montana to Missouri have nuclear silos. These nuclear silos aren't just for striking an enemy. They are also positioned a few miles apart, deep underground, encased in concrete. Why would you protect the missile silos in this scenario? Well, the whole idea is that you need a bunch of nuclear missiles to strike these silos just to take them out. If an enemy were to bomb the United States, it would need to dedicate a lot of its ordnance just to striking these nuclear missile silos. Of course, that would totally devastate all of these states. But you would need a few nukes each just to destroy the silos that are built to launch our missiles. That's why it's a nuclear sponge, built to sustain a blow of hundreds or even thousands of nuclear strikes, and as a result, hopefully sparing other parts of the country. But even in this event, it's not going to make a decisive impact. It may reduce the damage a little bit, but wide swaths of the country will still be completely wasteland. It's basically a way of edging out a marginally less bad final situation.
Yo, watch this slow-mo clip of Jake Paul getting his jaw broken. So he got hit once right there, and then boom, that's the one. We got a second slow-mo clip coming up. Jake Paul, he needed to bite down on his mouth guard, but he was too tired. He was mouth breathing. His jaw literally gets bent around his face. I didn't even think this was physically possible for his jaw to end up on the other side of his face. Everybody said that this was a Christmas miracle, that this is what they wanted for Christmas and that they got it.
I know for a fact that man woke up with the meanest headache, dude.
Did you guys hear they just announced that the air quality in California is officially unhealthy after its parts per million of particulate matter reached a certain threshold that now they're suggesting you stay indoors and close your windows? And if you're elderly or young or have any lung thing going on, you should not be outside. Now, the strange thing about this, and someone correct me in the comments, but they're saying it's a totally natural fog because of winter and the temperature change in the ground versus the air and all that. But then why would it be like toxic? I guess that's because the particulates that are coming off the cities anyway and all the pollution in general, but is staying in place as opposed to, dissipating. But this is a big deal, man. They're warning people. And apparently, according to this guy, it says, Gerald DePalta told Daily Mail that he and his family have been coughing and experiencing congestion for a week. Like, people aren't feeling well. This reminds me of when it was smoky as hell when I was in Edmonton and there was a crazy wildfire. But this isn't wildfire smoke. Yeah, okay. During these fog events, temperature inversions can trap car exhaust and industrial pollutants near the ground, potentially worsening air quality and causing respiratory irritation. Now, I do wonder if any of this foggy stuff is coming from other places, but I cannot confirm. Now, this guy wiped his car with his finger and it had a white dust. And what they say is natural radiation fog, which is not nuclear radiation. It's the radiation they're saying with the temperature change between the ground and the air during winter, is not known to leave a white residue, as it simply is a cloud at ground level consisting of millions of tiny pure water droplets. I'm not so sure it's too pure. That evaporate as the sun warms the air, but it hasn't evaporated. This is the weird thing. The residue could be due to dust, pollution, smoke, or chemical particles suspended in the air, which could be causing the mysterious health issues. Now, here's the crazy part. Do you remember the Northern California fires, specifically when a million, or let's say rather thousands, of houses burn? All the plastics, the PVCs, the chemicals, the freaking adhesives, everything went into the valley, and like the air was the probably most toxic it's ever freaking been, which is insane because they still have not cleaned up the Palisades. Well, maybe they have cleaned it up somewhat, but they left all these buildings that have been destroyed without dealing with them, when really you should treat it like an oil spill.
Wake up exactly at 3:17 a.m. and feel like your room is slightly wrong. Don't move right away. There's a reason people stay still. A few years ago, someone posted online about a phenomenon called the quiet shift. It's not sleep paralysis. It's not a dream. It happens when your brain wakes up a few seconds before reality does. According to the post, at 3:17 a.m., the house pauses. No ambient noises, no distant cars, no buzzing electricity. Even people who live in cities say it feels like the world briefly forgets them. That's when you're not supposed to move. Because if you do, you'll notice small things first. Your door might be open. When you always close it, your phone always will show the wrong date, usually years ahead, and the room will feel occupied. Not crowded, just accounted for. People who panic swear they hear breathing that matches theirs exactly. Not behind them, not beside them, but slightly delayed. Like an echo that learned how lungs work. The posts all say the same thing. Don't check the mirror. Don't check under the bed. And whatever you do, don't say anything out loud. Because the moment you acknowledge it, the quiet shift ends. Most people fall back asleep and wake up fine. But if you say that after the first time, the shift starts happening more often, earlier, longer, and eventually the room doesn't reset. The last post I read ended with one sentence. It finally moved.
Disturbing pictures, if you know, you know. The guy in the picture, his name is Timothy Treadwell, aka the Grizzly Man. During 1990 to 2003, he was getting so close to these bears that it caught the attention of everybody, because nobody was doing pictures like him. Even though his picture quality was kind of whack for the time, you know, it wasn't like National Geographic where like it was like close and like hella high definition. This was like really close but terrible quality. It got so much attention to the point where he eventually got sponsorships. So now he started recording himself doing all these things, and you can see how close he got to these animals.
The bear right next to me is Cracker, and she's enjoying a fish right now. I love you, Cracker. I do love you. She's my friend.
He started naming them, playing with the cubs. The weird thing is too is that grizzly bears are very protective over their cubs, especially mama bears, but they were letting him like rock. It wasn't until 2003 in his journal that they found later on, he started writing how the bears are acting not normal. So they're a little bit more food aggressive. It's because there's not that many berries around in the area. So they had to only rely on salmon. And one thing that he said is that every single time a bear eats a salmon, a fish, he usually leaves leftovers for the smaller bears to feed on. But during this season, they were not leaving anything behind.
That's how hungry they were.
He also started writing how close the bears were starting to get to his tent, to the point where he would not stop thinking about it, that he even got a nightmare that a bear ate him alive. How it was very real and how he felt it, which is kind of crazy because this foreshadows to what happens next. On September 26th, he wanted to finish this kind of like a documentary that he wanted to do, right? It was him and his girlfriend. He came across this bear, but he's never seen this bear before. Keep in mind, he's been going to the same exact spot for 13 years.
He attacked me. You attacked. And I was able to hold him off, not in any fisticuffs or clawed-cuffs, but just by being tough enough to stand up to him, and he did back down.
That's when, on October 4th, he calls Willie, his pilot. You're good to pick me up on the 6th, but just know that this is the best trip I ever had, and the footage that I have is the best footage that anybody's ever gonna see. 2 days pass, Willie comes, and he sees this weird bear. He can see the campsite, and it's still set up.
Yeah.
So he's kind of confused, and he's like, oh, maybe They forgot, they lost track of time. But then he sees the rib cage inside the bear's mouth, bro. Willie didn't really know what was going on. The only thing that he could assume is that it's probably Timothy or his girlfriend, right? He calls the authorities, the park rangers, right? They get to the spot a couple hours later. That's when they saw everywhere on the floor there was scattered organs, body parts. The bear that was making the cash spotted them, the park rangers. That's when he charged and was about to attack them. They ended up having to shoot the bear 10 times. They took whatever body parts they could find on the floor, and yeah, they confirmed that they had been mauled by a bear. And now a lot of people talk about audio. The audio has been not allowed to be seen by the public by one of the closest friends to Timothy, which her name is Jules. And there's a person who
anyone that's been to a zoo, they know that bear, mostly grizzly bears, are freaking huge. They're like ginormous. They look mad chill. Like, bears look really chill. They don't look too aggressive, but they can be super aggressive, mostly if they get hungry. That's kind of just like humans too. Like, if you were starving right now, you'd be 10 times more aggressive than if you're fully fed.
Is there a serial killer lurking in New York City? And why do I say that? Because recently, there's been over 6 bodies that have been found dumped in random locations all across New York City. And there has not been widespread news coverage on any of it. The latest body that was discovered and found deceased was found by a man in the Bronx in the Classen Point section. The body was floating in the water behind his property. Now keep this in the back of your mind. These bodies are all being found in the randomest of places. There was the decomposing body that was found in Coney Island. There were also body parts that were discovered in the Harlem area in Upper Manhattan. And there were also bodies found in Queens as well. And there hasn't been any updates tying any of them together by the NYPD. And that includes not even updating us on their identities as well. So the question should remain, why are they not telling us anything about what's going on? And if it does turn out that there is an alleged serial killer around New York City, why are they not alerting the public? And let me put this into perspective as well as to why some are believing that it is a serial killer. It's because the majority of the bodies that have been discovered and found are female. And that includes the one that was recently found in the Bronx in Classen Point. So once again, this has not been confirmed by anyone. But the bodies, if you go look up the stories, you'll find that they all were female. So it's kind of tying it all together and also putting it into a perspective. But we will wait and see until the authorities update us on any more details. If you're in the New York City area, just have your head on a swivel and be mindful of your surroundings. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
On November 14th, 2018, John Chow hired 2 fishermen to take him out to this little island in the Indian Ocean. The fishermen were not excited about this, not only because it was illegal to take him out to the island, but because the last time some fishermen had gone to this island, they had both died. But the fishermen needed the money, and so they went with John and they drove under the cover of darkness to this island and they anchored a little ways offshore. The next morning when the sun came up, John asked the fishermen to take him in a little bit closer, but the fishermen refused. So John puts a kayak in the water and he begins paddling into this island. And as he gets close to the actual beach, he sees someone come out of the forest who has their face painted yellow and they're screeching at the top of their lungs. And then a wave of people with yellow painted faces come charging out of the wood line and start firing arrows in his direction. So John, in a panic, turns around and paddles right back out to the fishing boat. Later that day, John tries to make another attempt at landing on this island and communicating with the people that live there. So he takes his kayak, he lands his kayak, he gets out, and the same group of people come out. They all start looking at each other and they start screeching and running down the beach towards John. John stands there until they come all the way up to him. They don't shoot him with arrows, but they take his kayak, and they don't really know what to make of him. They're staring at him, and they start speaking to each other in a language John doesn't understand. And then at some point, a child pulls his bow and arrow out and fires a bow directly at John. And he was holding a Bible, and he stopped the arrow with his Bible. And at that point, John is like, okay, I gotta go. And he jumps in the water, and without a kayak, has to swim a mile to get back to the fishing boat. The whole time, these people are firing arrows arbitrarily in his direction as he's swimming back out to the boat. And so the next day, on November 16th, he told the fishermen he wanted them to drop him off, and he would swim in, and he wanted them to leave and be completely out of sight. So the fishermen drop him off and they leave. The next day, when the fishermen come back to collect John, they see these people with painted yellow faces out on the beach dragging his body by a rope. No one knows exactly what happened to John, how they killed him, but it's too dangerous for anyone to go back and retrieve his body, and so his body remains at North Sentinel Island. The few hundred people that live on North Sentinel Island that were responsible for killing John Chow, they're referred to as the Sentinelese, and they are unbelievably primitive. They are completely cut off from the modern world. They live a hunter-gatherer lifestyle. They have no conception of agriculture. They haven't even discovered fire yet. They literally have to wait for lightning to strike and then run and collect the embers and try to keep the embers alive. Researchers believe that the Sentinelese are direct descendants from the earliest human ancestors that came out of Africa. And as much as we'd like to learn more about the Sentinelese, we probably won't, because they aggressively resist outside contact.
Yo, John kind of got me mad. If the first time they're shooting arrows at you and you manage to barely escape, why would you go back for a second time? All right, let's say, you know what I'm saying? Let's say you risk it, you go back for a second time. They did it again, and you barely escaped. So then you went back a third time with no one there to save you?
This autistic woman's family locked her in a cage and forced her to eat her mother's ashes.
Really?
Yes, while she was like locked up in this cage. So this happened back in like 2014 or 2015. This woman, she's autistic, she's like 22 years old. Her mother ends up dying. After her mother dies, she goes and lives with some relatives that she has. Bro, they treat her like an animal. They literally have her in the backyard, living in a cage. They would feed her scraps, and they would force her to do housework.
So pretty much she was like a slave.
She was pretty much like a slave, bro. And
wow.
Not only that, but they was literally torturing her. Like, because it was damn near the whole family. Like, the husband, the mother, and the kids were all doing stuff to her. They would They would burn her with cigarettes, burn her hands with like boiling water. They would like drown her in this hot tub that they had. Bro, they
what?
Did, and on top of that, they forced her to eat her own mother's ashes. So the way that people found out that this was actually happening to her, because they would normally not let her out the cage unless it is for her to do work.
Yeah.
So that's the only way that she would actually get fed and drink.
Yeah.
Was if she would do housework and stuff.
Wow.
Or they were almost kind of like selling her body.
Oh, so they were prostituting
her as well. And the way this got found out is that I guess people seen her wandering around in the backyard of their house. Like
so
one day that they weren't there, and she was just wandering around the backyard looking hella malnourished and like out of it. People called the police. So the police come and they take all the kids that were living at the house. There was like 4 kids that were living at the house, and they ended up taking those 4 kids, putting them into the system, and the adults of the house ended up being arrested. And I think they got like 30 years in jail
each.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's probably one of the darkest parts. I mean, even the fact that these people normalized it so much that the kids got involved.
Yeah, they were like shooting her with BB guns and like, you know, pouring like hot water on her and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, like they treat her like an actual animal.
No, seriously.
We just put the biggest crack in that glass ceiling yet. Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it. We have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now. It may be hard to see tonight, but we are all standing under a glass ceiling right now.
I don't know what she's talking about. Like, I would have to get the full context, but I love how everyone in the audience is clapping like they know. I mean, maybe they do know because they have the full context, but she's just randomly talking about a glass dome. Like, she could be talking about the glass dome they're in, the world, I guess. Maybe a metaphor for like her campaign, I guess. Like, I don't.
Is the Illuminati real?
No, I don't know. She may be telling the truth. What in the do you think I am? The machine is showing deception.
The December 22nd incident is happening again for the 4th year in a row. For those of you that have no idea as to what I'm talking about, 4 years ago today on December 22nd, the TikTok moderation team went on vacation and it allowed everyone to upload anything and everything they wanted onto TikTok. After that incident happened, every single year after that, people realized that on December 22nd, the moderation team just always goes on vacation and you could upload anything and everything. So that's what everyone has been doing for the past 3 years and what is happening again today for the 4th year in a row. So now a bunch of people are just starting to upload anything and everything they want, and it's usually a bunch of not family-friendly things. So if you're scrolling on your For You page today, be on the lookout because you're going to see some things that you probably don't want to see. I truly cannot believe that this is happening again for the 4th year in a row, like you think they would know by now, but nope. 4 years, this is really a tradition at this point, and I'm curious to know your thoughts about all of this.
This invention is way ahead of its time.
Ho, ho, ho. If you've ever messed around with virtual reality, no doubt you've wished there was some sort of treadmill or machine that would allow you to walk around and explore like real life. So, looking at this invention, you might actually start to have hope that this is in development. This shows a bunch of tiles moving consistently in front of this person and allowing them to walk infinitely like they're on a treadmill. Technology that you guys just saw, though, is actually from the early 2000s, which is shocking in my opinion. It's way ahead of its time. These panels are referred to as Circulaflor, all in one word. It was developed by Japanese scientists. These complex machines read your gait, read how quickly you're walking, and they will adjust accordingly, consistently moving wherever you go. Since its original inception, though, in the early 2000s, nothing has been done with it because it's so complex and it would be difficult to commercially produce this. There's a million parts here, so a million things that could go wrong, and it would be ridiculously expensive if it were commercially available. Still, though, it's very cool, and maybe someday we will have something like this that is widely available.
If you've recently put gas in your car at a 7-Eleven, you better go check your bank account right now, and I'm talking about ASAP. Y'all, people aren't finding not hundreds, but thousands of dollars missing from their account. They are charging people 100 times of what they paid for when they went to go pump up. And the fact of the matter is, they didn't even want to shut down the gas station after they found out they were doing this to people. They kept on going. Look at this.
Bought gas at a 7-Eleven in the past week.
Yeah, no kidding. A computer glitch has led customers to be overcharged 100 times what they actually owed.
I-Team reporter Dan Noyes has been investigating, and he is here now with what he found. It's crazy.
Ouch.
Oh, Kristen and Daniel, it's really hard to believe a $40 fill-up turned into a $4,000 charge. And the company says it has happened to about 200 customers. Yeri McLaren used her debit card for gas at the 7-Eleven in Pinole. She went inside to buy a Powerball ticket, but her card got declined, so she used her cell phone to check her bank account right there in the store.
And then that's when I got the shock of my life. That tank of gas that I put in wasn't $79.34 like I had thought. It was $7,934.
7-Eleven charged her 100 times what the amount should have been. Yeri told me the clerks were not helpful, and while she stood there arguing, another customer complained he had also been overcharged.
They had charged him $5,000, and I told the workers, I was like, you guys don't know what is going wrong, but there's clearly a problem because people who are paying outside are being charged thousands. And they didn't shut the pumps down until I threatened to call the police and the Better Business Bureau.
After many calls and emails, 7-Eleven finally refunded Yeri's $7,900 and gave her an extra $500 for her trouble.
Unfortunately, at this point, it's just a kind gesture because 7 days later, I'm still trying to reconcile my account. Who got paid? Who didn't get paid? How many fees am I now having to pay out as well?
How did this happen in the first place? An internal company email obtained by the I-Team cites a recent software update and says it appears the decimal point moved over for the pending transaction. For example, move the decimal point 2 places and this $26 fill-up would cost $2,600. 7-Eleven's corporate office in Irving, Texas tells me that a payment processor error affected 6 stores at 2401 Appian Way in Pinole, 890 Coleman Avenue in San Jose, and stores in the Midwest between 2 a.m. and noon on Thursday of last week.
People were out $7,000, $4,000. We even seen transactions for $1,500 for $15. We were like, we need answers.
This customer didn't want to be identified, but she told me several victims gathered at the 7-Eleven in Pinole last week demanding answers. In her case, she bought $43.45 worth of gas and got charged $4,345.
I'm like, whoa, what happened? Did I get scammed?
I'll get gas and I'll see minus $150 and I'm just like, dude, what? That usually gets reconciled like pretty quickly. Like it will actually show the actual number. I've always been scared that one day I'm gonna look in my account after buying some gas and it's gonna be like minus $100,000 that I don't even have.
The FBI raided Michael Jackson's house and found 0 evidence.
What's their conviction rate?
98%.
They didn't win.
So you think the feds are gonna waste their time to go into Michael Jackson's house only to find nothing? They could have planted something everything, that means you had zero evidence to go off of. If there's something to go off of to like, oh, maybe nothing. So the fact that they went into his house and found nothing, and this picture that with him and Epstein makes even more sense because my theory is now true. I said the second case that Michael Jackson was in.
Damn, you did say that. Go ahead.
Guess what was happening at the same time? Jeffrey Epstein's case.
Facts.
At the same time, who was a real trafficker. Deflection.
Major
So you don't think
Got you.
that meeting has any significance at all?
It absolutely does.
Because it was smoke and mirrors. Nobody knew who Jeffrey Epstein was back then.
People barely knew him 5 years ago.
But the fact that the first time Michael Jackson gets hit with a case, then we find out they're lying and they extorted him. That gets thrown out. Then years later, all of a sudden, the case comes back up again. And then Jeffrey Epstein is in court the same time.
Again.
And now we're showing that he actually knew him.
I can't.
That's an easy layup.
You can't make this shit up. Come on.
So-
That makes even more sense.
That makes even more sense.
Does, though. Yeah, it makes more sense.
Yeah. It makes even more sense now because it's all smoke and mirrors. Because if the most famous man is in court, are we paying attention to anybody else?
Right. Look over here. Look over here. That's
Just
all
saying.
that is. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. And how hard was it to get around Michael Jackson when you were around Trump already? Trump was hot around the same time that Michael was hot.
Yeah.
It's how hard is it to take a picture? Everybody wanted a picture with Mike.
Right.
How many people have pictures with Mike?
And not only that,
a lot,
but he was also doing a lot of dealing. So he probably got a call like, hey, you need to link up with this Epstein guy. He got a lot of bread.
Okay, I'll meet him.
He might invest in my thing. He's probably just a financier. He's not knowing what he's doing.
That's
right?
crazy.
They know he got jets and boats and islands. He's like, oh, okay, let me go see what's up. He might invest in my next album. Who knows?
Exactly.
And here's the thing. Why is Michael dead now? If he's part of all this, you think they're just going to off somebody that's part of the program?
Well, we know why. He owned the Beatles. He owned Sony. And Tommy Mottola. He told you that Tommy was the devil way back then.
Exactly.
So
Devil can't have you knowing, who he is, where he is.
y'all, he was mad that he went to Japan he went around Sony here and went and
bought it cash.
And bought it.
$85 million cash.
Oh, they were mad at that.
He was like, you know what? Cool. I'll be right back. Goes over there.
Hold that thought.
Here you go. Yeah. Comes back. Wait, hold on. Michael Joseph. What?
Watch your ass. Walk that ass. Right?
Yeah, take that. No Diddy.
Everybody's fired. Get the fuck out.
Yo, Michael Jackson's the GOAT, bro. I still don't believe he did none of that things that they accused him of. To this day, I still don't believe it, dude.
Thank you all for watching this here video.